It's your girl, Melanie Charles, aka D Flower.
And your girl, Yunie Mojica, aka Yunie Mo.
Yes, and you are listening to the Make Jazz Trill again. How you feeling today, Yunie? It's good to see you.
I'm feeling good today. I can't complain, even though I usually always can't complain. So I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm all right. I could be complaining as well, but today in my morning pages, I got to update you guys every time we do an episode about how I've been doing with my morning pages. This morning, towards the end, I said, I'm going to choose joy. I'm going to choose the joke. So when something could be stressing me out or whatever, it could go left, but I'm going to choose to find a joke in it.
Okay.
So with that in mind, I'm doing all right.
So when you say choose the joke, do you mean find the funny in it?
Find the funny in it. You know what I mean? Because, there's so much crap going on in this life, I just feel my health dwindling and all the stuff, the darker and darker things go in life. So I'm like, okay, halt. Let's try to reverse. So, yeah.
Yep.
But once again, I feel bad for the listeners because they don't get to see you. You got a cute little haircut. And you looking like a Black Panther.
Yes, that is what's up with me right now. My tia,
Yes.
I went up to Washington Heights and my tia gave me a little haircut and she gave me highlights. So I'm a new person today.
You look very cute.
And
thank you.
Yes. And I will
Thank you
say
for blessing my eyes.
we are coming up off the heels off of our last gig. You played at the Blue Note on Monday. I played at Public Records on Saturday. And you're going to be at the Blue Note again on Monday, April 1st.
Yes, I will be. I'm really excited. Thank you for that reminder, Yunie. Monday was really cool. We had a pretty good turnout. It's looking like even the turnout for April 1st is going to be even better. So I don't know when you guys are listening to this, but if it's for April 1st, I recommend that you get the tickets. And I'm really proud of myself and my amazing band. We were really locked in and we sounded really good. I'm such a big critic. So in the moment, I was just like, oh, I don't know. But the next day when I had a chance to listen and watch the videos, I was like, okay, we did good. And people really had some warm feedback and seemed to enjoy themselves. Our friend Stretch Armstrong pulled up. That was so nice. He came with his lady.
Oh my gosh, I love Stretch. Hopefully one day he can be on our podcast.
Well, I talked to him about it and he was like, absolutely, yes. He was like, just let me know when you want to do it. He was like, duh. He made me feel crazy for asking. He was like, of course, obvi. And I was like, oh my God.
Not that, but he doesn't do that for everybody. So of course, come on.
Yeah, I don't know what I did to be in his good graces, but I'm just grateful that we're developing a really beautiful friendship. So shout out to Stretch Armstrong.
You should low key ask him to write your liner notes for your next record.
Ooh, that's a bar because at this point, he's seen me play 3 times. He really kind of knows what I'm about right now. That's a really good call. Come on, you
air
ideas. I know, right? Ideas. But how was Public Records? I wish I could have been there.
Man, it was a vibe. This time we played in the atrium. We're usually in the sound room. And we were kind of on the fence about it because it's tighter, but we roll with the punches. And regardless, we had a really great set. People were there dancing. People were screaming in our faces.
Oh my God.
Chanel sounded amazing, of course.
Oh, Chanel. We love Chanel.
And we were all locked in just like y'all were at the Blue Note. So it was great.
Listen, I've had some great nights with you guys at Public Records. The evening that you guys have curated is really one of a kind. So, I mean, I feel like everyone knows because it's always packed to the brim. But if you're the one person listening that's not hip, make sure you pull up to Public Records the nights that Yunie Mo and the whole crew, the whole gang is rocking. Sonic Messengers. Was Bro there? Was Ace Mo there?
He was rocking it. Nice. Our next thing is we really want to get dancers, real dancers, to be in the room. So if y'all know any dancers, send them my way, please.
Yes, please. What's going on? Well, you know what?
Without further ado.
Yeah, set it up, Yunie. Set it up.
Without further ado, we could go on into our usual, sports segment, Trill tracks, like we always do. But today, we got a special guest in the house, the homie, the friend, but the band leader, the musician, the drummer, the educator, the arranger, hailing for all the way from Cleveland, Illinois, but
Ooh,
here in New York, doing the
ooh.
damn thing. Give it up for Jerome Jennings!
Y'all
Hey,
crazy.
Jay.
I love
Well,
y'all.
welcome to our podcast, Jerome.
You know, Yunie, I gotta tell you, I'm from Cleveland, Ohio.
Oh, I said Illinois.
It's the
You did.
Midwest. It's the Midwest.
Listen, I'm very
Yeah.
East Coast. What can I say? I gotta go
It's
back to school.
Yeah, for us, the Midwest and the South and all of that, it's all the same thing.
it's all it's hey,
Cleveland, Illinois.
it's all good. I'm sure it's a Cleveland, Illinois.
Ooh.
How you feeling tonight, Jerome?
I'm feeling good. I feel real good. I mean, to be in y'all presence, I feel blessed that y'all even, asked me to be here because I'm a fan of both of y'all. So
Of course. Of course that we would invite you to be with us. My personal Jerome Jennings story, it starts like how many years ago, Jay? Like 10,
it's more than
12?
it's more than 10. It has to be at least 15. At
Oh
least.
my. I don't know how like we linked though. I just feel like I just remember magically you were in my life. And early on when we linked up, you blessed me with laying down some drums on some of my first recordings. And you've just been such an amazing big brother to me throughout the years. You done blew up and got even more, in demand. So I can't be calling you to play with you like
Mm.
I used to when I first had met you. But whenever we do
Cough,
get
cough,
together,
color purple.
right.
You crazy. Y'all.
I was trying to save it, but y'all, Jerome Jennings had a beautiful role in Color Purple. I'm sitting in the movie theater and I'm like, oh my God.
Yes, same. I was like, oh, that's
You do all the things and you do them all really well. And like
wrong.
you're one of the best drummers alive. Very humble. And I think it's a great opportunity to like dive into you behind the drums, behind the hip hop, behind the jazz, behind the production, behind the voiceover, behind the acting. I'm really excited to like get closer to who you are, Jay.
Get a little closer.
Yeah, there's a lot that people don't know about you. People just think, oh, Jerome just play drums. Oh, he's teaches at Juilliard or this or that university. But before we even got on here, you said that you do voiceovers.
Yes, I've done
And
a bit of that.
how did you get into that?
Well, playing with Paula West, there's a singer
Oh,
out in San Francisco who I've been performing with. I've been accompanying for 15 years now, actually. Um, you know, and she is on that scene of, you know, there was a fan of hers who was in the voiceovers, who was into it, like was making a living, and she would come to the shows, and she recommended that I look into
wow.
it. She heard my voice and was like, "I think you could do voiceover." So, um, uh, another friend of mine in New York, she was into um she worked in a voiceover office, like I should say a audio book office, like
Mm.
What?
downtown, like that. Yeah. Um, can't quite remember her name. I gotta say her name, but damn,
That's okay.
she doesn't live here anymore. She moved back to Seattle. But we were friends, and she was like, you know what? I think you could record our griot section of the book of the voiceover of the book, like the audio book. And this is like when audiobooks were like new, like brand
Yeah,
new. It
wow.
wasn't really a thing. So I
Mm.
went there and I did some reading. And these books were like black romance books.
Were you uncomfortable?
I gotta admit, when you get into this voiceover thing, it really brings out every nuance of your voice. Every nuance. And I realize how country I sound when I talk. And I realized,
wow.
yeah. I mean,
You didn't
everything,
know?
all it
No.
says the New Yorker, a Brooklynite, you know, and that kind of started me, getting into that. And I was getting at it. I didn't work towards it. This is an art. It's an art to do
Yeah.
it. But I got
Yeah.
called for some other stuff. Trevor. What's Trevor's last name? He used to work at BGO.
Oh, Smith.
Trevor Smith. He called me for some stuff. I did a reading of Malcolm X excerpts from his book, from his
Dope.
autobiography, playing Malcolm X. So I had to get into his the
Dialect.
the dialect and the rhythm of his voice. That was fun.
Wow.
And that's how I got into that. That's how I, got into that side of things.
It's interesting because I feel like drummers that play, there's like different schools of artists and musicians, I believe. I feel like there are technicians, musicians who you can call them and you know they're going to deliver and they're going to play what you need them to play. They're going to play beyond what you imagine you need them to do. They're going to just show up on time. They're going to do the gig. And we can list names of musicians like that really keep the tradition going. You know what I mean? And then you have artists who maybe you can't call them for everything, but like what they do bring is truly one of a kind, and you can't get it anywhere, and you select them for really well curated things. I think that like you kind of embody both of those things, because usually the really great technician doesn't expand artfully as much as you do. Like you've made space even beyond being an incredible drummer, a go-to on-call drummer for all the top people. You've also like opened up yourself to doing the voiceover stuff, to doing production stuff. And I would love, because we had Christian McBride on the show last year, and we really love talking about his discography. Like I'm a McBride stan, so I would love to hear from you, Jay. Like, what was your experience working with him? And I feel like y'all recorded 2 albums?
Yeah, we've recorded he recorded on both of my albums. I recorded with him. He produced a record for Philip Bailey, and I'm on that.
Wow.
Okay.
That one.
He also produced a recording for the National African American Museum in DC. I'm on that as well.
I remember that. That was filmed too, right? Was that
Yeah,
filmed?
I think so.
Mm-hmm.
I think so. Yep. And what's interesting, I met him acting. I met Christian McBride acting in an off-Broadway play called Lady
Really?
Day.
Oh, Lady Day.
What year was that, you would say? If like
I would
roughly, what year?
say that was probably 2012, maybe 14, 13.
Wow.
When did you move to New York?
I moved to New York in 2002, y'all.
And it took
Wow.
that long for you to meet him? That's so
That's
No, I
strange.
met him. I met him before. Like y'all got to know. I stay under the radar. Like I'll go to a show, especially when I first moved out here. I've always rolled dolo, man. I always rolled by myself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I would go to a show, see what's happening, and just leave. I wouldn't be up in people's face.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't my thing. And I hold like a cat like Christian McBride. Christian is such a juggernaut of this
Yeah.
music and has shaken and moved for so long. I just want to hear him be like, damn, take that in, go back and realize how the level that I want to be on, or the level that I want to at least attain to. And I just split. The first time I saw him play 3 times. The third time I saw him play was with Chick Corea, and
Mm.
yeah, it was a trio with Brian Blade. And I saw the show. If I did approach somebody, I would just say, "Hey, I enjoyed the show. My name is Jerome, and be out."
Right.
Mhm.
Not, "Hey, I play too, man.
Nah,
Like, let's get up and play, man."
nah, that ain't me.
Yeah, more and more I have ideas about how maybe that's not necessarily the best thing. But sometimes when you're hungry, you figure, let me shoot my shot. But
Yeah.
I respect your way of being like, nah, I'm just here to receive the blessings. I don't need to impose myself. But so you're saying that y'all met on the film set.
No,
So
it wasn't a film.
on the theater,
Yeah, it was at the theater. So I I didn't mean to cut you off. Was you about to ask a question?
Well, no, I was just gonna say, like, you guys weren't playing, or were you, or were y'all just jamming out anyway because y'all had instruments there? I'm saying, did y'all connect because he heard you play, or was it just y'all communicated? You guys connected first on a human level, and then it was like the music came next.
So I used to accompany his wife, Melissa Walker,
Melissa, yeah.
and we used to have rehearsals and whatnot at their crib, but it had nothing to do with McBee, nothing to do with him. But we share same likes and interests, but musically, how it connected, how he got interested. I was in this play with Dee Dee Bridgewater. It was called Lady Day. It only ran for like 8 months, and Dee Dee did a lot of the heavy lifting. But I had some speaking roles, and I was playing as well. I played this role called dude name was Kellavon McBride. Anyways, McBride came to one of the shows, and he was like, "I like the way you accompanying her." I was like, "All right, I appreciate it, And he was going through some changes in his trio some years later, maybe a year, 2, maybe a year and a half later. Um, and he called me, or and he wanted to try me out. He was like, "Man, I'm calling you because the way you accompany a singer, I think it'll work for this trio." I said, "All right, that's cool. Let's go." He had been trying drummers out, and then I ended up being in the band for like 2.5 years. Yeah, now
Wow.
he's like my big brother. Like, I love that dude. Straight up.
Wow. You never know who's listening. Like, you might think you going for one gig, but you want a whole other gig, and then the person sees a vision and says, you would be great for this other thing. That's why we always got to stay positive and always bring our A game. You never know when the pivot will happen.
That's real.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's
true.
real.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So true. One thing that I've always noticed when we've worked together in situations in terms of like education, and you have been in so many different roles in terms of being an educator, worked in various different institutions and things like that, and I wanted to kind of get your perspective on the positive things that you've taken away from jazz education in particular, whether it's mentorship or in a school or whatever setting or on the bandstand, and what are the positive things, and then also some of the, I don't want to say negative things, but things that could potentially, I guess, what are in your opinions, what are the flaws that you think our jazz education system is?
What you want me to start with?
You could go positive, you could go negative.
Let's
I
go
don't
with let's go with positive first. Let's go with positive first.
know.
I think anytime something that's good, that's been a positive like attribute to our society is taught or at least recognized, I think it's a good thing. Um, I think, uh,
Oh, like knowing who Thelonious Monk is.
yeah, just speaking his name. Like
Mhm.
when you say people's name, like you know, D Flower, you feel me? Like Melanie Charles, even if they get it wrong, at least somebody gonna be like Googling or looking her up. Yunie Mo, you know what I'm saying? Yunie Mo, like at least you have a 50% chance. Hopefully, this person will go and do their own research and figure some things out. Um, I think that's a good thing. I think um, just speaking these people's name is a good
Yeah.
thing. Um, there's certain qualities that you can learn through learning this music, and certain things you can learn about. Unfortunately, I think there's a lot. There's a few flaws. Um, when you have folks teaching this music and teaching these artists that don't understand or come from a cultural contextualization. They don't really understand the culture that the music comes from.
Mhm.
And when I talk about the culture, I'm not talking about music notes necessarily, though it goes hand in hand. I'm talking about how do you contort yourself? How do you what what do you how do you move in the space culturally in the space from of if you from where the people who created this music come from. Like if I'm studying, for instance, my little brother, he's 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 been taking taekwondo lessons for a very long time now,
Oh,
like
wow.
at least four
Mhm.
years, 4 or 5 years. He's a black belt. He's bad. He's 11, but he's not just learning how to kick. He's not just learning how to punch or defend himself. He's learning about Korean culture, how to how do they get down? How do you move in those spaces? Why is it necessary for this art form to emerge when it did? He's learning how they talk to each other. How do they treat their elders? Like how he's learning a lot out that embodies the culture, understanding that the art is like a branch, but the root, like in the root of the actual of the culture, it's just a little piece that makes
Mm.
the whole. And sometimes I think when people learn this music, you know, the swing, the swing tradition of our music, they learn the goodies, but they don't really respect the people who it comes from. They don't.
Right.
The people who they're teaching are honorary, like white folks, almost in a sense, or honorary high class, but the neighborhoods and the energy that the music comes from or that is retained, they don't accept it the same way they accept a Lester Young
Mhm.
or a John Coltrane,
Like a
right?
gentrification of
Yeah, it's
of
it's it's it's, it's wild, and
the
and
art form.
and and when that happens, when you're not culturally contextualizing what you're teaching, it gets it gets taught in a distorted way. It comes back out in a distorted way. This is how we have people coming out of these colleges that know how to play their instrument, but they don't really hit you musically.
Mhm.
Because culturally, they could care less about the culture. They just want to learn how to play a John, like they want to learn how to play like somebody, or they want to be different for the sake of being different. But they don't. there's certain unsung rules that we have in our culture that's not even addressed in school. Y'all know what they are, but we take it for granted because we just know what it is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I've been playing around with this idea a lot, Jerome, about like maybe it's the issue is trying to squeeze something that's so vast in a college education, in a 4-year program, 6-year program. It's like it's impossible to really get down to maybe it's not impossible. I guess the question should be, how would we get down to those details when you have to take some test that says you can do this key, these scales, these rhythms, and there's these sometimes arbitrary things that you have to hoops you have to jump through in order to qualify you to get the check of a professional musician. Where is the room for the contextualization for the culture?
I don't
There's room.
know. I feel like. Sorry, go ahead.
No.
The question was
Go
for
ahead,
you.
Yunie. No, Yunie. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I feel like it's the way the curriculum is built and the schedule of each semester, each class, each day, and being careful with leaving room for all of the elements and pillars of what the music is, what it means, the history of the music, and contextualized in said time period of the music that you're studying. And then the other pillars that are also go along with it is just business and understanding economics too. I think that also goes hand in hand, which is another side of the conversation, of course. But I, and taking out the unimportant pieces, like sometimes you have to take university courses depending on if you're in a conservatory or not, where that seem irrelevant. So, but I don't know. What are your thoughts, Jerome?
I mean, you got to understand these institutions are bank funded,
Right.
sometimes state funded, and sometimes they can get federal funds as well. I mean, this is
or rich donors.
rich donors.
Right.
So we gotta understand that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're taking a step further. I was talking surface level of.
But we gotta go. No, we gotta go. You always gotta go to the
That's
root.
where I wanted to go.
Right.
With the question.
You always gotta go to the root. And if you think about how these institutions, the institutions that fund the institutions, think about Black folks. I mean, if Wells Fargo is subsidizing a program, but Wells Fargo or whatever bank made a lot of money off of slave trade stocks, well, that you're going to get some residual effects of that in the future. Then I mean, right now. So you have to. We also have to understand.
Blocked.
Yeah, you got I mean, you got to understand. I mean, if you have a teaching style that's coming deeply out of the tradition of how we learn culturally, in the neighborhood, somebody will observe you and say, "Nah, we don't. You got to teach a different kind of way," because they don't understand the culture. Again, we're going back to not understanding the culture, not understanding or wanting to be thoughtful and get to understand or try to understand the people that who's coming out of the culture. If any of these schools made a sincere effort to make statements in 2020 about what was going on, then you know we would have something to talk about. But most of them did not, because they don't understand what was going on, and nor do they want. I mean, but it's a contradiction. It's a contradiction there. Another thing, again, you got to look at the root. Like if you think of David Maines, this is a guy who kind of he started the new school, like in the early 1900s. I just did a panel on James Reese Europe, him and James Reese Europe were friends. James Reese Europe and his band were the first to play black group, the Clef Club Orchestra, to play at Carnegie Hall in 1912. Now he had to get these brothers ready to play, so they had rehearsals, and the way that he rehearsed was very different than the way an orchestra would rehearse. And David Mans was like, I don't think y'all gonna be able to pull this together, because he didn't understand the ways that he was rehearsing the band. And James Reese Europe had to pull him to the side, like, yo, I got it. Chill, calm down. They gonna be ready. And they killed it. Standing O's, standing room only. Make a long story short. So like that misunderstanding of how we do things, how we get down. And Black energy has always been a turnoff for people who don't understand where we're coming from. I'm talking to y'all. If somebody who's not from where we from heard me talking to y'all in this way, they say he's quite aggressive.
Right.
Why is he so angry? You know, so I mean, but the thing is, you got to get to try to understand and know. I heard this Chuck D interview on Arsenio Hall show. He was like, if you don't respect the people who are producing whatever art that you're coming out of, man, it's always gonna be a problem. You don't respect, and respect is that's a hell of a word, man. That's an action. Love, respect, all those are action words.
Yep.
If you're not trying to come to me, and that's another thing. These are mostly white institutions. If more than most 90% of those institutions are jazz institutions are directed by white artists or people who
funded
might not
by white money.
Yeah, you might not even be an artist, but you got that DR in front of your name. You got that doctor or PhD in front of your name. But what does that mean in the community? What does that mean in the Black community? Who do we really, when it comes down to the art, right? Does that even matter? Plus, let's talk about the hierarchy of positions in these institutions. You got the very bottom adjuncts. You got associate professors. You got professorships. And then you have so many other hierarchical titles in between. What are most jazz musicians' titles when they work in these institutions? Adjunct. There is absolutely no job security in adjuncting. They can fire you after your contract without you even knowing. And most of these jazz musicians, I'm not dissing adjunct work. If that's what you got and it's servicing you, so be it. But there's no job security in that. It's very similar to writing music and somebody else stealing the publishing. If you have jobs, and then the classical department will have 4 or 5 professors who are tenured, which it's hard to be fired when you have tenure. Most jazz departments don't really have tenured musicians in the department. Maybe 1, maybe 2. Maybe. Everybody else is adjunct. That shows you how much they respect the art form and the music. Y'all feel where I'm?
Yep.
I feel you, but I can't help but just to think that it's just the concept of learning jazz in a university setting just doesn't really make sense. Like after doing it, after getting my jazz degree, given it was undergrad, I don't have a master's, I don't have a doctorate, so maybe it'd be different. I think that the focus. Okay, there's 2 parts, right? Because it's like the students and the information, and then it's also musicians developing a livelihood outside of performing on stage. Like when you talk about like adjunct and like getting like, let's say like a Reggie Workman or an OG, that they can't be moving around like that. You know, I think it makes sense for them to be at a university and like sharing their wisdom and helping guide the other teachers how to do their thing, for sure, in that regard. But also, I do know that a lot of jazz musicians take teaching gigs as just a way to like kind of make money. They kind of want to teach, but like it's a check. I'm sorry, like that's a thing. And you teach the few courses that you can, and then you back on the road again. Can't wait to get back on the road. You got to go back and do your time to teach. Sure, you see some young musicians that are really exciting and are developing, and you might be invested in a few of them, but then the conversation becomes the importance of mentorship. And I feel like we all, aside from our schooling, like Jerome, I know you went to Juilliard, like top of the line for jazz education. I imagine though that you had some really hands-on mentors that really, I mean, I would like to think. Oh, okay. Well, what's the tea? What's the tea?
How are you gonna be in a situation where people are paid and forced to hang around you for pay, and it's gonna come out sincere?
Mm-hmm.
The last thing, a nightmare that I had was to go look school and the scene. It's two different things.
Totally different.
Let's cut the boo boo right now.
And I just want to add, we are also seeing the same thing slowly happen to hip hop too.
Oh, don't get me started.
Getting into the institution.
Don't get me started.
Yep.
And
Y'all
the same things are happening.
Yo. The same thing is happening, and it's going to happen. It's going to happen.
And it's happening fast.
Because the energy that drove hip hop is the same exact energy that drove jazz music, or drove, the swing
biggest
of I mean, you can't. I always when I went to Rutgers, Victor Lewis, I went because I wanted to get up under Ralph Peterson, and Victor was there the second year. I wanted to finish my degree because I got a personal mantra. If I start something, I want to finish it. That's just what it is. I never wanted my teachers to feel like they were forced to hang with me or forced to give me jewels of knowledge because they were at the gig or at a job.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw all my teachers outside of school. Because when you see a person like Reggie Workman, when you see a person like, I mean, these are juggernauts of this music, man. These is people who they Victor Lewis, folks like you see these people in these institutions. It's very comparable to me, and I know, no disrespect. Okay, I'm gonna use an analogy, but I don't mean it by any disrespect.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same concept as seeing a lion in the wild, saying, man, that's beautiful, that's majestic, it's powerful. It's something that God put on this planet, and I'm in awe of it. And then saying, but I want to cage it up and see it whenever I get ready. Pay admission and see it whenever I get ready to see it.
And study it.
And study it. And if it gets out of line, I'll just put it down and get another one. If it bites back, even though it's not in its natural habitat, I got something for it. Whether it's a pride, whether it's a chain around his ankle, I'm gonna show this thing. I'm gonna show this majestic creature, this majestic God creation, that I'm better than it, and it better get in line. So when you see these jazz musicians trying to teach a small group, an ensemble of people who they might not even fuck with if they weren't assigned the 11 o'clock ensemble,
right?
Yeah.
They gotta do what they gotta do, or they gotta go. So this music has been appropriated. It's been institutionalized in their institutions, and when that happens, it's gonna be taught in a distorted way. It's gonna have to be, or you're gonna have to go.
It has to be. That's the only way that the machine can keep moving.
It has to be.
Yep.
So I feel kind of torn because, like I said, I appreciate what it means for musicians' livelihood who cannot tour or record or for whatever reason or do not want to or are working on other things. But in terms of like if I had kids, I wouldn't send them to jazz school. I would say go shed with Uncle Jerome, go link up
Right.
with
I'd rather
Yunie,
pay
go.
that money to said musician.
You know what I mean? And really get the information straight from the lion's mouth, to continue the analogy that you made. But I just feel like I don't know, like the jazz school, the institution thing just really seems really like not right in my spirit. The more and more time goes,
The more time that
but it
goes
is,
by. I mean, I
but
am
it is.
thankful that I was able to go through Jackie McLean's program, because that was very much different. That program was very rooted in the history, rooted in where the music came from, rooted in focusing on slavery and the transatlantic slave trade and Africa and all the way to the beginning of time to Pangea. So that I am thankful for that. But that is like almost in a cycle of where even that program is no longer going to exist. That program is different now.
Yeah, it's a class thing too.
Mm-hmm.
These programs aren't designed for people who come from Cleveland, who come from parts of Hartford, who come from parts of Brooklyn, to be able to be there and feel at home. To feel at home.
Right.
Right? Because again, there's this cultural disconnect where so many people who are interested in going to Juilliard, a lot of those students want to go because their parents are like, okay, you want to play music? Play music.
And go to the best school that does it.
Here's your New York University application. Here's your Juilliard application. Here's your Columbia application. Because they don't quite understand how this thing works. School is it's different. It's a different thing. But now coming out of school, I mean, at this point, you're paying so much money to go. Folks want to come out of school and they want to be playing. They want to be playing with names.
I mean, I've even spoken to students that are in some of these programs now where they get in trouble for taking a gig during class time when the whole point of being at the school is so that you can play the gig.
That's real. I mean, but I had to, I had to say no. I had to say no to a lot of gigs because I knew I wanted to finish. And for what it's worth, I mean, I learned a lot. I learned a lot. There was some heavy folks at Juilliard when I was there, and I learned a lot. I mean, I'm a person. If I'm in any environment, I can take. My mom used to say, "You got to learn how to sift. You got to sift and take what you can to keep it moving." But I always made sure I was out in these streets. I was out in these streets going to sessions. I didn't have a choice. I didn't have a choice.
Yes. Mm-hmm. That's another thing I think about being self-driven. I used to think that like everyone should or can play Black American music and like everyone can sing, everyone can. Now I believe you got to have the drive and the hunger, and you have to seek out the information and the knowledge. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like two-prong, like yes, mentorship, school, education, yes, but you have to have a hunger and you need to follow that hunger. Another thing that comes to mind though is like we talking about mentorship and we talking about our OGs, but I think at this point, even people in our generation, we need to start taking responsibility for looking out for the young ones coming up. Because I remember when I was coming up at the new school, a lot of the older classmen, musicians that were more ahead, that were doing things, they were so stingy with the information. They didn't want to share. I'm not going to name her name, but I had a teacher at a certain time and I wanted to understand how to like scat in the changes. Like I was like, how do I like really like get in there? And she responded, "Oh, you got it. Don't worry about it. You got it." Like just like not being willing to share, not taking the time to really process what that question means and giving me the tools. I just feel like there wasn't a generosity with the information. So we are in that place already, y'all, where if we see, that this young kid coming up trying to, that they're hungry, they showing up to the gig, give them a little bit of extra because we already know they're not getting it in school.
Well, I mean, like what you said though, like I'm focusing in on like hungry coming out to the gigs. Yo, I don't show everybody everything, man, because
Right.
you don't get it. You don't get everything. Like I'm not gonna do that. Like there's
No.
a bit of trial and error you got to deal with.
Yeah.
It's such a, I don't know, man. It's like it's such a corporate type of way. A lot of people move now. It's like they see it as like, how do you get a gig? They go to these like kind of questions that's like, I don't know, man. It's
Not
like
of
steeped
that.
in
Yeah.
corporate in a corporate kind of cookie cutter way of thinking.
Would you
Yeah.
say, would it be safe to say that do you think that it's influenced by the way social media is? Do you think it has anything to do with that? Or is
I
it
mean,
just kind of
it's our times.
the nature of.
No,
It's our
it's our
time.
times. It's the times, man. Like a lot of people, they're getting information through schools. The first thing people ask you now, what school do you go to? I've seen people, again, my whole thing is observing. So I go to a spot, chill, and just see how people move. You hear people ask the question, what school you go to? Or, you know, I don't really like saying community as much as I used to,
Yeah,
but
I agree. And it feels like everything is so cookie cutter for just the jazz world. And it's
where
not even remotely close to what the entire musical
facts,
world
it's it's a corporation.
encompasses.
See, in jazz music right now, you can make decent money in different arenas, in different areas, right? Um, if you playing a lot with certain groups, you can do okay.
Hmm.
There's teaching opportunities. There's like, it's known that grants can be written if you experimental and it's jazz tinge. It's official. Louis Armstrong was a genius. People see these jazz luminaries as great. I mean, Lincoln Center, it's money up there, Yunie. You know what's happening.
Yep.
So people, and that's a very corporate model for this
It's a
music.
very
But
it is a very
but
Mhm.
everything that we've created has been anti-establishment.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Including this music. It was anti-establishment.
But I'm starting to feel that in order, and this is so twisted. I feel like in order to preserve the culture, right? Because there is an importance to that, is fine. If that means that that there is a space for the museum, the jazz museum, right? Like the Carnegie Hall, like they're playing Mozart, and this is how you play Mozart. I do think that, you know what, there should be a space where this is how you do train. This is how, well, let's say, let's go a little bit, not train, but like help me out. Like, this is Jackie McLean. This is how you do, this is the school of this, let's say. I think that there is an importance to that because I do believe that we will
Yeah,
lose it.
but here's the problem. Who's doing the programming? Who's in those power positions? Come on, Melanie, you put an album out a few years ago, right, man? I mean, but like most of your stuff is next level to me. You put an album out that took the tradition and just did this to it. And like moved like I thought about, like, when I think about what you're doing, and you too. Y'all are taking this tradition and it's like you're using it like Play-Doh.
Mm.
and you and your work. I mean, from the title of your record. Let's just start there and then get into the actual music. Y'all don't love black women. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's real talk. Like, and it's true. It's facts.
And that is in the lineage. Every ounce and drop of music in that record is direct lineage of the music. That is not just jazz, where it's where they try to confine and say just jazz. I understand why Nicholas Payton says bam. And the more we have these conversations, the more I understand it, because in order for anything to change, we have to break the mold. We have to break the challenge and break the institution, because when we get to the root of it, it is where the money is, where the racism exists, and it always comes back to economics and racism and history.
No doubt.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like the project that I did, like I went on my own journey. Like no one like told me to do this. I didn't see someone do it and I went that path. It was my often very painful, often very lonely journey that I don't necessarily would wish upon another vocalist. I'm like, sis, if you can go do really well in Juilliard and be the best scatter at Juilliard, then sis, go ahead and do that and make your money. That's where I stand. Or you can go down the dark side like I went. I don't want you to go. But if you want to go, let's go. I feel like there's space for both, because I feel like there's importance for in both of those approaches. And you know what I mean?
You know what? No, I don't. I don't. Because there's some rules to this. There's some rules to black culture. I'm gonna give There's rules to this.
Let's go.
Let me take down the notes.
And one of the rules is no biting. You're not supposed to be biting what somebody else did and get attention.
Period.
And when you do that and get attention, it lets people in who don't belong. I taught a class at Lincoln Center, a Swing U class. And I had this dude talk, this lady was talking, they were cool people in the class, except for one person, not this lady, but she asked, she was okay, she was cool. She asked, she said, I'm hearing Emmett Cohen playing, he's doing a lot of Willie the Lion Smith, you know, and he's hipping audiences to Willie the Lion Smith, and he's playing things the way Willie the Lion Smith played, and I appreciate that and whatnot. I said, all right. Anytime somebody is taking playing a music that had its height in popularity or its beginnings 50 years ago, 40 years ago, whatever, if you put that person in a time machine and they landed 50 years ago, if the people who were creating that music ain't fucking with that person, they shouldn't get fucked with at the time that they are currently living in. Melanie, you took standards and just reworked them in a way that was like, I never even heard this before. I never even heard phasers and phasing and different soundscapes to this music. Dim Their Eyes, I think. What did you do? You done did so much music. Oh, you muted.
I muted myself. I'm trying to make sure I listen to you real good. I did Jazz Ain't Nothing But Soul. I did
See, you done moved on to something else already. See, but that's what you're supposed to do.
Because I'm dark and I'm skeptical, and I'm this world hasn't been kind to me, so I'm not the right person.
But check it out. Real talk. Those are unsung rules. When you get a person like Elu, when you get a person like Christian McBride,
yes,
even, you know, I'm gonna say this, man. Wynton has his own sound.
Yes, he does.
If you don't have to, we're not talking about whether you like it or not.
Right.
We're talking about Roy Hargrove. We're talking about you have your own thing and you're presenting it to the world, whether they like it or not. Now, it's clear that these people are coming through a certain tradition, which people can, have something to write about. My wife is a writer, so she's like, people have to have something to write about, which I dig it. But the folks who are running the show, the folks who are in control, and there's unfortunately a cultural and historical historical contextualization to that too. They are controlling the narrative and trying to shape how we see 2024 in 2050. And it's not fair. But the fact that y'all still recording, the fact that people are still shaking and trying to do things that is abstract.
Yeah.
But coming through the Black experience and speaking to today, what's happening today.
Yeah.
Not what's happening. Man, Willie the Lion Smith was talking about and speaking to what was happening in 1930, 1940. What was happening then in the Black community, in disenfranchised communities, it's not quite the same as it is. We have to address what's happening now, even though we're showing admiration for what came before us. We got to respect our elders.
Yes.
But we cannot come exactly how our elders came.
Yeah.
You can't do it, even if you tried.
You can't.
And that is what's being perpetuated.
That's what's being perpetuated. Learn what they did. Understand the temperature of the culture is probably maybe even more important than learning what they did.
Right. I'm a huge believer in that. It's really understanding the culture. What was going on at the time?
What's going on at the time, man? I'm trying to teach these students. I just came from my history class at
context. You have to put context to the music.
You got to put context to what's going on, or what's going to happen is people are going to learn it in a very distorted way. It's going to come out like a gremlin, and you're going to be listening.
You're not going to be connected. It's not even going to be connected to your own heartstrings. When you listen to music and you talk to a musician, you want to know what was your inspiration, what brought you to write these lyrics, why. Where's the why?
It's crazy. Somebody recorded a few years ago, Kind of Blue, just like how they did it, and it actually got ink. People was writing about that. You got somebody saying, what they say, Wayne Shorter.
Oh,
and
God, I remember that.
It actually got ink. How does that get ink? Why are people even caring that somebody is redoing Kind of Blue? Because the person writing doesn't understand the culture. They don't. That should be ignored.
It's also really lazy. There's a gentleman who, I'm not going to say his name, a peer of ours, who put out an album about 2 years ago, a cover album of another artist that's alive right now who's very hip and cool, and we love her. And he did an album and it's the same exact arrangements. And I'm so upset that he did that. Because this musician has so much potential, but he literally did not rearrange, did not reimagine, didn't do anything. It sounds like a karaoke.
Oh.
And we need to hold each other accountable too, because this is a peer of ours. And I think a lot of people whisper quietly, but and we watch people do that because it's like, this album was a great album in the 90s, in the 80s. So if I reimagine this album, I can ride on the wave of how good this music is.
Is it on a label?
It's actually really lazy. He has his own label.
It's on his label. See, I mean, he's trying to see, but the thing is, again, this is, I wanted to get into this in this James Reese Europe not podcast panel idea. We as long as we try to envision our lives through somebody else's gaze, we're always going to come up
corny.
Yeah, corny or culturally, artistically short. What we're trying to do is we're trying to see our lives through the bluest eye. And when you do that, you can be successful doing that.
Yeah.
You can be successful monetarily, popular. You can become popular. But what does it mean in the long run? Like I'm putting an album out called Solidarity. I'm trying to speak to what's happening in the community, black women at the time, what's happening. It's, what's going on culturally,
You mentioned your album, and I did want to like pivot a little bit talking about like production, because you are also a beat head, you're a producer, you create your own worlds sonically, and I know we want to go to Trill Trivia soon, but there's something I wrote down and I wanted to run it by you and see what you think about this concept. I wrote, the evolution of Black American music is the extraction of elements. The evolution of Black American music is the extraction of elements. That's what I believe in as I've been looking and seeing and hearing where sound is now. What does that mean to you? What do you take from that? Can you what you think about that idea?
Y'all the embodiment of that statement. I mean, our music has always been an amalgamation of several styles coming from various cultures. And I feel like that's what makes it what it is.
But when I say the extraction of elements, I mean, as time goes by, as we evolve as a society, Black American music, we're removing things. Like, let's say when we're talking about vocal production, I'm noticing now we're not using reverb like we used to use it. Now it's like more dry and more like right there to your ear. You know what I mean?
Mm.
That's what I mean when I say the extraction of elements. I feel like with time we're like taking away stuff. Do you agree with that observation?
You mean taking away like sonically instruments,
Sonically,
or
sonically, arrangement wise, you know what I mean? Like simplicity and form, even like going from bebop to like what came, you know what I mean? Like we're just like taking out
Stripping
chords,
away.
stripping away, and like with time, like it's less and less and less and less and less. And I think it's kind of a good thing. Um, what do you think?
yeah, I mean, I feel like whatever's coming is gonna be a response to what's happening socially, right? And a lot of saturation. I mean, if you are we talking about going from big band to now?
Sure, that's part of it.
That's
Going
how
from
I
big
heard it.
band to
Mhm.
now.
I mean,
Simpler forms in the music, like cats ain't
oh,
doing
you talking
like
about like
Oh, even
vamps and
changes.
different? Yeah,
that. Like
Yeah,
all of this
yeah.
is all happening with time. We see it's less and
Well,
that's
less, or
true.
even
Like
in pop
even
music too.
from like train changes is like you
that's
don't really
right.
see that
You don't,
Well, I
or
or
mean,
hear that
even like
rather.
but
mhm,
again,
mhm.
all of these things, man. Every aspect of Black American music has been a response, and I would even say all Black musics, um, and other art forms, other folks from other cultures, art form, Russian class. These, this is there. It's a response to something
Hmm.
that's happening socially. It's a response. Hip hop was a response. The big band era was a response to something. The quote unquote bebop, or I like to say modernist movement, was a response to something. Oversaturation of swing, swing, swing. Everybody's talking about swing. And Dizzy and Monk was like, nah, it's too many people from outside the culture that's latching on to this, getting paid. We need to come up with something new now that they might not be able to take. But we also got to look at the image of Black folks during the swing era and before, and the image of these dudes coming out, and women coming out doing this modernist thing. And what was it a response to? Brothers coming back from World War II and still getting shitted on in America. And these young people like, nah, man, we playing something that's more aggressive. We playing something that's more fast. And I
Yeah,
and Robin D.G. Kelly says it in Monk's book. Like, yo, Monk was like, I don't want white people stealing this music. I'm tired of it.
yeah,
So it
Yep.
was a social response. If you think about hip hop, Reaganomics took so much music out of the schools. And then even before that, when you talk about the Black power bands of the late 60s and early 70s, if you want to talk about jazz of the mid 60s, 70s, we getting into this freedom thing. We trying to keep it so that we can have autonomy for our thing. This is what was happening socially. Black Panther Party. We want autonomy. We want to own our own, right?
Mm-hmm.
The evolution of Black thought coincides with the evolution of music. So right now, you got people who came up, who was born in 1980, 1975, who latched on to this thing called jazz. But yo, I had to learn jazz. I didn't have to learn KRS-One. I came up. So you're going to get a Glasper is naturally going to emerge, because that merging, a Melanie Charles is going to emerge, because that marriage of hip hop is going to be evident if you're honest and not
Right.
chasing the bag. And let me say, if you have courage, you got to have courage, because people might not like what you're doing. They might not like
Nine
it.
times out of 10, they won't if it doesn't sound anything like what's happening.
That's the part though, Jerome. You gotta have courage. You gotta have balls, because it's scary.
It's scary, man. Like Melanie, I done known you for a very long time, and artistically, I've known you even longer. And I'm gonna tell you something. You're always going in a direction that keeps people not on, I don't want to say solid ground. That's not cool, but it keeps people
That's fine.
guessing. What is she gonna do next? And it keeps it interesting. Yunie is going in that direction, has gone in that
Yes, she
direction
is.
as well. And I love
Yes.
that. And this
It's
is,
very radical for Yunie, especially considering the work that she had done at Lincoln
oh
Center.
my God.
I'm so in awe of like where Yunie is developing her sound. I'm like,
I'm
what?
even surprised of the places.
It's crazy. And if you think about the people who are the face of this music on paper,
Yeah.
right? The commercially on paper. I mean, like Sugar Hill Gang in 1980, man, real hip hop heads wasn't checking for them. Let's
Right.
be real. Grandmaster Cass was that dude. Melly Mel was that dude.
Right.
Right? And for people who was real hip, a few years later, Roxanne Shante was that. She was the shiznit. Let's just keep it real. And before her, we gonna edit this. But
ooh, this is getting
No,
heated.
wait,
This is
wait,
getting-
I don't know if we gonna edit that, but
no. I gotta. I just had a brain freeze, y'all. My bad.
it's okay.
But there's
okay, my brother.
but right now, the guy who is sort of at the commercial helm of things, he don't even like hip hop. He don't respect it. So people who want to sell records, who want to be down with an institution that got money, are going to run from that aspect of Black culture, of Black life.
Yeah.
Right? So, but there's always an alternative to everything.
What's the alternative? Because where's the hope? Where's the silver lining?
Truth, legacy,
y'all. people who just being true to the culture. Whether you wanna spang a lang, whether you wanna, combine whatever element of the music with whatever other music, with jazz music or swing music, the tradition of swing music. If it's hip hop, a lot of people doing it as a gimmick right now.
Yeah.
Because again, Robert Glasper, man, I mean, he's very successful. So what you gonna get? You're gonna get some copycats trying to do what he's doing.
of course.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's normal. I feel like historically a lot of copycats were the ones that got famous, and the real ones that was really developing the sound kind of got left behind. People always talk about how Miles was who are they saying that Miles took all his stuff from?
Miles stole his stuff from.
Well,
I
like
don't know.
compositionally, he took a lot of people's
Oh
writing.
yes, writing wise.
yeah,
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. He
Absolutely.
yeah.
So like we hear stories of that, like it was really an underdog or someone else that was really doing the heavy lifting and someone else got the, and that's just the unfortunate way of the world. But okay,
I'm sorry,
I
y'all.
think now.
Shy Rock was the artist I'm thinking about.
Oh, Chirac.
You know,
Okay.
Yes.
it's always an alternative. That's all I'm saying.
Mhm.
Like whatever's
Yeah.
going on, there's an alternative to whatever that is. And y'all do what you got to do. Do what you got to do. Get the bag.
Yeah.
Yo, there's an alternative to everything.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
There is. That's why I love y'all, man. Y'all are breath of fresh air.
We love you too,
Yeah.
Jerome.
You know?
Thank you.
Me too.
Thank
Me
you
too.
for speaking positivity and uplifting us as women in this industry. It means a lot, especially coming from a brother. You know what I'm saying? So thank you for seeing us.
Yeah, and thank you for encouraging us to stay on the path
Mhm.
too,
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
it's easy to fall off and take a look at yourself and be like, what am I doing? Like,
Yes.
I gotta eat.
No, it's hard. It's
Gotta pay
hard.
rent.
It's hard, and people
You
make
know?
decisions. You know, they make the decisions to do what they do, and I'm not judgmental, y'all. We just talking. We talking
Yeah,
about
exactly.
what's
Yeah,
going
we're just
on. We talking
exploring.
about
Mhm.
who's doing what, who's doing this, who's doing that, and it's okay. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like it's you do what you do, but again, there's always an alternative. There's always alternatives to everything, and
Yeah.
I want to be that.
You know, you carry so much history and wisdom. Like, now I totally understand why you teach because the amount of study that you've done outside of the classroom, because a lot of the things that you speak on are not learned in the classroom.
Yeah.
But with that said, it's time for Trill Trivia.
Yes.
Are you ready?
Ready or not, here it come.
Some have passed, some have failed. Let's see where
We should do the song. We should do the song.
What's
The internet won't let us be great. The internet won't. Nice.
All right. Question number 1. Which jazz drummer is turning 100 this year? Is it A, Buddy Rich, B, Arthur Taylor,
That was an easy question.
C, Max Roach, or D, Art Blakey?
Max Roach.
Ding, 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 ding. I had to start out with the easy one because, everybody be sweating during.
I know you be making them sweat.
All right. I don't know. I feel like you're probably going to get all these, so we'll see. Question number 2. Who was Art Blakey's biggest influence in regards to fills and drum solos? Was it A, Max Roach, B, Chick Webb, C, Baby Dodds, or D, Philly Joe Jones?
Chick.
It was Chick? You're wrong.
I think I don't like that question anyway. It damn sure wasn't Philly.
It was Baby Dodds.
Well, hold up. Wait a minute. Hold up.
Oh, challenge.
Uh-oh.
Chick Webb, everybody came to hear him play who came before him. And I have recordings. If you listen to Liza, The Clouds Fall Away, you hear shades of what's to come with Art Blakey.
But then you could also hear that with Baby Dodds.
Well, everybody's coming through Baby Dodds. I should have said Baby Dodds. Okay, I'll take the L.
You're wrong, bro.
I'll take the L.
But I'm sure it's not that black and white.
No,
I
it's
see what
not.
you're saying,
It is not. But I
mean,
appreciate
that question though.
I know it's a hard question.
What feels?
I did ask another drummer that was a guest on this podcast that question, and I wanted to ask the same question to another drummer. So
I'm definitely taking that L.
Here
But
we
that's
are.
Who did
that's,
you
that's
ask the
kind of
question
subjective
to?
too, though. I wouldn't say Philly because Philly came. He was checking out art.
well, I got that. I learned this from Eric McPherson. That's how I formed the question.
Okay.
So I don't know.
Moving on.
Anyways,
Moving on.
moving
I'm
on.
dead. Moving on.
Now we're getting into semantics. But, I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to give you half a point.
Thank you.
Okay, half a point. So that's 1.5.
See, we have fun with Trill Trivia. It's a good time. All right, question number 2. What was the name of Max Roach's percussion ensemble? Was it A, the Jazz Messengers? B, Max... This is a question. Okay, sorry. B, Max Roach plus 4. C, M Boom. Or D, Boom Room.
Boom Boom Room?
Boom Boom Room.
That's good.
M Boom.
Correct.
Ooh.
I can't even answer questions. You're right. Ding
I
ding ding ding.
didn't
ding.
know about that. I'm gonna look that up.
Boom.
Mm.
All right, last question. Who
Yunie's
is
one of Yunie's ex bandmates used to play in M Boom. A
Really?
key member.
Oh.
talking about Warren Smith?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he was part of the sound. He was the sound of M Boom.
Yes.
Okay, moving on.
Nope.
All right. Who is
Jerome is killing me. Jerome's like,
No,
next.
This
I'm
is
dead.
great. Let's go.
No. I'm ready.
It's fun. It's a good time. All right. Who is the most sampled drummer? Is it A, Questlove, B, Clyde Stubblefield, C, Tony Williams, or D, Elvin Jones?
Clyde.
Ding, 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 ding. All right.
Woo! 3.5 points for Jerome Jennings.
I like that.
Good time.
That was fun.
Yeah, we always keep it light and challenging at the same time.
Yes, we do. It's a nice little kiki. Well, I feel like there's so much more we could talk about. Like, we didn't even talk about your albums, your projects. And I know that you're cooking up some music, and you're getting ready to release some music. So I think it's only fair. Like, we talked about a lot of the problems and the challenges of the institution. I would love for us to do a part 2 where we brainstorm ideas of what we can do to like be a part of the solution, the remedy. And also I want to dive into your discography and talk about like where you at creatively right now, like what you cooking up, like where are you as an artist. So I think we need to like just schedule a part 2 real soon. What y'all think?
I'm with it.
Agreed.
I definitely want to get into some of the music that I've made and produced, and that would be amazing. And that I'm diving into now and going to release. And
Where are you in
other
the process?
projects.
Are you writing still? Are you recording, or are you planning out the rollout? Where are you in the phase?
Mel, I'm writing so much. I'm writing for a documentary movie I'm surprised I don't have bags under my eyes. Creating cues for that. I'm working on a jazz age big band project. I'm working on a smaller group project. Chris is gonna be involved in.
Nice.
And I'm actually hearing some things. I have so much music complete, like through the pandemic. And y'all know the indie hustle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I get great advice from my life partner Naomi Extra. And she tells
Shout out to
Shout
Dr.
out
X.
to,
No doubt.
yes, shout out
No
to
doubt.
Naomi Extra.
No doubt.
We gotta have her on the show too.
Yes.
She's off the chain. We actually have a project. We've done some shows. It's called the Get Free Collective. where she gets to spit, and I write music around her
I
poems.
gotta see that.
But not rushing the process. We get caught up in producing, get it out quick. I don't want to be forgotten, that kind of thing. But
Yeah.
I'm so glad, like in 2021, 2022, I didn't just rush and put something out, because my last recording, Solidarity, was 2019.
Beautiful album.
And thank you. I appreciate that.
Impactful.
And you want to put something out. You want to turn out recordings, but in a quick way, expediently. But that's not how art works all the time. Sometimes, for it to be something that you want to come out, that you're happy with, and that artistically really speaks to where you are, it takes time. It takes time. And I'm gonna tell y'all, like, this next recording, Chris heard some of the stuff. I got some demo things. It's for me, and I got a feeling in general, it's gonna be on something else. It's gonna be on another thing.
I'm just putting my hat in there. If you need some SP samples,
I already talked to you, Mel. You already
phases,
know. Mel,
yeah, okay,
Mel,
right.
we were
I'm
at the
saying,
bar. You think I was
Yo,
I don't know which
in,
project.
coach.
No, I wasn't sure which project, because you got a couple different projects. I'm just saying, like,
I was before I fix my mouth to say anything, I think it through thoroughly.
Me and her like, pick me.
Yo, hey, Yunie. What is that? The
Aerophone?
The Aerophone.
Shout out to Roland.
Yeah.
Man, I'm hearing that too. I just got to ask you some questions about it. So, because I have to learn to know its capabilities outside of just sonically what I'm hearing. I don't want to be like,
to be able to write for it.
Write something and then
I will say,
or just say you put something on
way it depends on who is playing it. I am an alto player. I have the setting I have on it is for alto. So if a tenor player buys it, they're probably going to want to set it up like a tenor, so you can set it up to the key in tenor, or soprano, or a clarinet, or a flute, or a trumpet. So there's a lot of things. It depends who's playing it. For me in particular, I play it like it's an alto. So you could write it in alto key.
Interesting.
Okay.
Ooh. Well, guys, I think that it's our time to slowly fade out of this episode, but I think we can all agree that there's so much more here that we want to explore. We thank you, Jerome, for hanging out with your two little sisters and for sharing so much information. Like, you cited some stuff now that I'm like, okay, well, let me go. I found the M Boom album, so I'm gonna go listen to that. And to our listeners, check out Solidarity. It's a really great album. One of my favorite tracks is I Love Your Smile. It's not one of my favorite tracks because I got to sing it with you at Dizzy's. I swear. It's not only why, but that's such a classic song. And
you singing I Love Your Smile just makes the most sense.
Oh, she killed it. She did her thing.
I tried my best.
No,
remind me again who's singing on the album?
Shani. Oh wait.
Oh no, that's Camille.
That's Camille on your
and
album.
there's a video that component to that.
Ooh, yeah. So we got to put a link to that so people could check that out and get into it, and then we revisit. So we have this little thing that we do, Jay, a little sign off. So what we be doing, I say, whatever you do, and then you, Jerome, say remember to, and then together we say make jazz trill again. Are you down? That was the rehearsal. I feel like you already got the gig. You already got the gig.
Remember to. That's what you say.
I done already jacked up the claps.
You just gotta say remember to. Remember to.
And then we say make jazz trill again together.
Yes.
Yes, that's it.
All right, bet.
Thank you again, Jerome, for chatting with us. We look forward to having you back again. Thank you to our listeners. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you tell your friends, share the episodes, and whatever you do,
remember
From
to
me to you.
remember to
Man, please. Hold up, man. Y'all do that again, man. Man.
he said from
Man,
me to
take
you. Oh my
2.
God, where did he get that from? From
me
me
to
to you.
you.
I forgot.
I like that.
I forgot.
He said it rhymes with ooh. Okay, so okay, rewind. Whatever you do,
Remember to
Make
make
jazz
jazz
trill
jazz
trill
again.
trill
again.
again.